Great, thank you. So, welcome to mobile. So as we were introduced and said, we've got some general things to show you. It's very exciting to see that everybody is looking to do a lot of mobile. So really high level, we're going to present not only the reasons why you should do mobile, everyone's going to do those things, but some of the best practices and how to approach the mobile, and then some how-tos on your different options, not only with Ektron, but what's currently out there as far as kind of the technology stacks and moving forward in those things. So hopefully you'll walk out of here with additional sites, technologies, and maybe a few methodologies to implement your mobile site in 2012. So welcome. So who I am, I'm Danny Williams, like I said, Web Marketing Manager. We do have at Echo Danny, at Nicole K. Rogers, and we are tracking Synergy Mobile. So we're up here tracking that live. So if you have questions, you can send them to them over Twitter, and we will try to track those as well through the presentation and answer them if we can. If not, it gives you a good reason because you could look like you're talking to us when you're really playing Angry Birds. So it works. So for example, we just got a message from I Love Nuns. It said, who's Technology Credit Union? So I Love Nuns, this is for you. Technology Credit Union is a credit union, financial industry. We have $1.6 billion in assets, which puts us roughly in the top 50 size credit unions in the US. We have a wide range of products. As far as our traffic for our website, we have about 300,000 visits per month for our website. To our websites, it represents around 70,000 unique visitors. As far as the mobile portion of that goes, it was about 10% of our unique visitors that were coming to our website. And there'll be some more details on that a little bit later. So I'm going to kick it over to Nicole to start us off in the presentation and do a little bit more.
All right, thanks everybody. And as Scott said, my name is Nicole Rogers. Can everybody hear me? I'm just going to be projecting today. Great, okay. And I'm a product marketing manager at Ektron. So let's get started. All right, so people are accessing your website via their smartphone or a tablet every day. And of worldwide smartphones, there's about 1.08 billion, so a lot here. How many of you have a smartphone? Okay, a whole crowd practically. What about tablet? Great. So nearly 18 million tablets were sold worldwide in 2010, and this year it's estimated that 54.7 million tablets will be sold. 28% use their tablet as their primary PC, and 43% spend more time each day on their tablet than their desktop. Just by 2015, mobile internet usage will surpass desktop browser usage.
And mobile is the next big area of both innovation and opportunity for marketing. Their users are going forward and quickly accessing your phone. The first thing you reach for when I need to look up information is quickly becoming culturally our phone. So there's going to be a lot through 2012, and I think 2013, we're going to see new innovations. One thing people aren't doing very well on mobile is the advertising, is the cost, the revenue generation, and the connecting those final dots. But that is really going to come to fruition throughout the next year or two.
Great, so we at Ektron and Tech Credit Union believe that it's time to provide your audience with a consistent and integrated customer experience across all your digital channels. So where does that first put us? Well, we believe that you first need to create a mobile strategy, and we think the best way to do this is following Forrester's POST methodology. So the first thing here is people. You want to understand the mobile behavior of your target audience. So how are your audiences using mobile? Are they using text messaging, email? Are they accessing the internet, utilizing social networks, using maps, navigation, or watching videos? You then want to determine your company's mobile business objectives. So is this to grow revenue, increase efficiencies, improve customer satisfaction, reduce costs, etc.? So a lot of you flew over, obviously, to Las Vegas, And some of you may have decided to use your mobile phone to check into your flight, such as like Southwest does that, or to use it as your boarding pass. So those are just a few examples of one way to improve customer satisfaction.
So for Technology Credit Union, we took a look using the POST methodology at both people and objectives. So we started with our current non-optimized website where it served the full version. It was an old version of HTML, not well supported, and it really didn't come across. Content wasn't optimized, our delivery wasn't optimized, but we still wanted to know, with that experience, what are people doing? And so I pulled all the analytics and found out that overall, people are coming to the Contact Us page and the location pages. We are a bank essentially, so we have locations that people are trying to find the hours of, and that kind of information. So that gave us a big hint that, okay, people quickly want this type of information. Next, we went through, and the next one are our mobile apps. So while we're not going to talk a lot about mobile apps specifically in this presentation, we can do a comparison or answer any questions about them towards the end. But for the way we approach apps as a credit union is it's our online banking, so it's our secure financial channel into people. But everything else, all the other information, all the other attraction that we do for our customers, for members, all comes through the external website. And so we wanted to still provide that information for them. Promotional pages, which are different types of advertisements. Even though they were not optimized, they were still working fairly effectively for us before we launched. And then our careers page, ABA, which is the routing number, and then some of our general product pages. So that's kind of the mix of where we were before we launched. So let's fast forward to post-launch. Our numbers are actually the same, but our usage is way up after we went through this process. So I've got about a 40% increase in mobile users over the past 3 months. I think most of that's because we're providing people what they want quicker. It's a less frustrating experience for them. So when you optimize, you will quickly see the things that you want to see in higher traffic, better usage rates, lower bounce rates for us. I dropped our initial bounce rate from, I think it was 70% on mobile down to almost 50%. So it was really high, so it worked really well for us. So using that POST methodology, those first 2 steps, kind of gave us an inclination of where we wanted to go.
And just quickly, the next step is strategy. You want to build a strategy in order to meet your objectives, and fourth, determine the technology that you're utilizing. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through the Ektron Mobile Maturity Model, and then Danny is going to show you a case study basically on Tech Credit Union. So at Ektron, we've developed this mobile maturity model, which represents the 4 stages of maturity that applies to your organization when looking at your website and where it falls into in terms of mobile failure, mobile focus, mobile friendly, or mobile first. So mobile failure. I believe a lot of you probably aren't in this right now, and if you are, it's very easy to go to the next step. So first, mobile failure is when basically people don't believe that mobile exists. There's complex navigation, heavy use of bandwidth, fixed page layout instead of floating elements, and slow page loads. So Gomez research found that by increasing the page response time from just 2 to 6 seconds, increases the page abandonment rate by 25%. So that is a lot. But if you're in that area, it's pretty easy to go to mobile focus. So mobile focus is when you make a subset of your high-value pages render correctly for mobile in a limited set of mobile devices. And a great example of this is my former company, National Geographic. And so I have a friend, Arjun, who is a great photographer, and here's some of his photos. And I was talking to him one day, and I remembered that National Geographic has this photo contest every year. We weren't on a desktop at the time, but we did have our mobile devices. So I pulled up my mobile device and I Googled National Geographic Photo Contest 2011. And I was presented with this experience. So as you can see, you go to this page and you can't really read the text. It's a lot smaller. You have to pinch and scroll horizontally to see and read the content. However, if you go to www.natgeo.com, they do have a mobile site, which looks like this. So it just goes to show that they have mobile-enabled some of their pages, just not all. So it's not the optimal presentation if they're coming to your site via search. However, they do have some of their pages rendered correctly. So if you want to go to the next level, mobile-friendly, which is really what Ektron has done with our site, Ektron.com, as well as the Synergy site that I'm sure a lot of you have been utilizing lately. We have some best practices that we recommend for mobile-friendly. So first of all is that the content needs to be accessible with a minimum number of clicks. As you know, people have their mobile device, they want to access that content right then and there very quickly. There's also experience. So you want to segment your devices by screen sizes and features. You may choose to showcase video to tablets, as well as just text and images to a smartphone. You also want to optimize files and assets for the mobile web because download times can take a while. And you also want to leverage device capabilities such as HTML5, AJAX, video, click-to-call, and geolocation. And Danny will be actually talking a little bit about that later today, or later this afternoon. There's also layout, where you really want to take advantage of every pixel of real estate with relevant and useful information. And we recommend using a single column layout, so again, you don't have to scroll or pinch to zoom in and out. And then mobile templates, we would like you to have them be elastic and not fixed. So often people have their mobile device and they switch it to be this side, so it can expand accordingly. Going on design, we recommend having a similar theme on the mobile version of your site. So, you know, if they go to your website on their desktop and then the website on their mobile, they're presented with that same familiar user experience. And we want site visitors to quickly move to the area that meets your needs. You can also look at your analytics to see what parts of your site are being accessed the most via people's mobile device. And then development, recommend using valid markup and the option to switch between mobile and desktop version of the site. So you can have that in the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner. But the thing with that is make sure that when they go to that desktop version, that they're directed directly to that same page that they're on instead of the home page. So, mobile first. This is an interesting concept. This was first presented by Luke W., and he speaks all over the world about this concept. And the idea here is really starting with mobile design principles. So you're going to design your website via mobile first, and then you're going to optimize that experience to a desktop browser. And it's great. There's some examples that we can show if you would like to see this, but it really takes the approach that less is more. I flew on Southwest over here. You go to their mobile site, and I can check in, I can find my boarding pass, I can see my flight times. If they design their site that way as well, it eliminates all the promotional pages, the links that I don't want. So the concept here is really just focusing on mobile, because by 2015, more people are going to be accessing your website via their mobile device, and they want that same presentation user experience.
There's some real key elements that we wanted to keep together when we did our mobile. But let me kind of back up to kind of when I came into the project. They had already started developing and choosing Ektron as the solution when they brought me on board. And at that point in time, they were actually in a mobile failure standpoint. The existing website was mobile failure, didn't consider it whatsoever. So I mean, everything that Nicole has just presented to you and talked to you is exactly our experience, and we fit exactly in that model. So you're definitely going to as well. As that mobile failure, they ignored what it could be. And thankfully in our contract, we had an extra template that was laid in the contract, as well as some good resources. So when I came in, I said, what are we doing with mobile? And they looked at me like, what do you mean, what are we doing with mobile? I was like, okay, so we're going to do something with mobile because we need to really optimize and reach out to people in this way. So the approach we took, there's, I think, two basic approaches within Ektron that you can take to solve whatever issue. Since I came into the process late, the main website that was already designed before we even considered mobile at that point. but we kind of put everything on a freeze frame while we developed the mobile version of everything. So I'm looking, and we said, okay, well, there's a couple things we have to do. So one path is we go templates. So we develop a custom template within Ektron to serve up that mobile content. Maybe we add some other technologies to those, and we'll present those later. And that's the approach that we took, where we may already have a website and need to optimize for mobile. That's what we did. There's the other version, which I think is you can still do, which is kind of responsive web design. Everyone's talked about it. I'm going to show you what that means today. And you can do that approach as well. If you're doing it after the fact, it takes a little bit more development, a little bit more effort. So the templates may be easier as a first stepping stone to get to mobile friendly on your approach to mobile first. So just a couple high-level marketing type elements. So you look at our main website, some of the key features that we wanted to keep consistent when we went to our mobile version in design were the branding, the color, and the style. So as we go forward, there's the mobile version. So any mobile phone, well, pretty much iPhones were in the heart of Silicon Valley. iPhones are about 50 to 60% of what the visits are. Then it goes Android to about 30. The remaining is BlackBerry, quickly declining. And after that, some unknown other phones that visit our site. So, but I think you can quickly see here, there are some main key elements that we said, all right, there are some good features here that'll work for mobile. So these icons, the larger text, the bigger areas that aren't necessarily mouse clickable, but they are really good for the finger size for clickable. So some of the design elements you want to take moving forward. So moving to the technology side, kind of the innovation side, we said, okay, this was our solution. This is our technology stack of how we decided to approach and get us to mobile friendly, and maybe in some areas mobile first. So we said, okay, we're going to do XHTML because it was really easy to transition our content over because that's what it was already in or supposed to be in. CSS, up to current standards. We don't really use a lot of CSS3 because at the time, at the beginning of this year, it wasn't as well supported in the browsers, but it has since gotten a lot of support. Ektron master pages. So we have two master pages. We have a master page that goes with the desktop version and one for our mobile, as well as our ASPX files, which are layered on top of. We have a version for each as well. Some of actually ASPX files we have multiple depending on what the purpose of the content is. And finally, to get to the great iPhone swipes and all the great transitions, we layered on jQuery Mobile, which at the time was in alpha. It might be in beta now, but is getting a lot of support, supports a lot of devices. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that we didn't have to, in our CSS, spend a lot of time and a lot of bandwidth we didn't have with 15 different mobile devices, do a website, test it out, then go pick up every device and sit there and look at it. We relied on jQuery Mobile to do those transitions for us and to save us a lot of that work. And it's great because it just layers in like anything else would. As far as everything else prior to the jQuery Mobile, it's exactly how your site works now within Ektron. So it's very, very easy to add one template, to add a couple ASPX files, and then your jQuery Mobile on top of that. You can even optimize. You just won't have the neater animations that we wanted in them. So an alternative stack is a little bit easier. You don't have to have more than one master page. You don't have to have more than one ASPX file, but you have to have a lot of development in the CSS. There's a lot of, to make it responsive to that screen size, there's a lot of planning that has to go into it on the design side. What's going to disappear as screens resize? What elements do I want to keep? How are we going to keep fonts and coloring consistent? Or do I want to do a horizontal or a vertical restacking of the content? And then HTML5 is what we're recommending. Best practices, HTML5 is great because it actually HTML5 elements and all the new elements support the iPhone browsers native. They're supporting the Android browsers, which are quickly catching up natively. So you don't have to layer in extra JavaScript. It's already built in, which is just a better user experience for your end users, your customers, your clients. It gets people through faster. It serves up the pages faster, less likely to have errors, and less overall development time for your administrators on the content side. That's, of course, any questions on these, please feel free to ask me. We will eventually go towards this. Where I'd say currently our content model is definitely mobile friendly in the model. Our templates, I think, are mobile first. Because we said, you know what, whatever we did, we'll redesign them and we're going to go first for mobile and then layer the content in. When you move to the alternative stack or the latest standards, you're really going to be moving towards that mobile first perspective where you're getting that best possible experience for everybody. What's the next slide? I don't even know. Okay, perfect. So that's the transition. So we're going to do we're going to do a hot swap. So please forgive us on the technical side, because I want to show you live what those pages are and how the responsive web design works versus the templates that we currently use on our site. Okay, so here is our existing website that's template-based. Okay, so our main. So we're not using the responsive web design. So as I resize my screen, you're going to get the exact same content. It's going to pop down to the mobile because, that's the next screen. You're going to see how everything stacks. And, there are some layering issues in the way that some of our development is. And so these are some things that I'm still working on. But you can see I've got scroll bars. The content's not reordered. I'm not really getting a great user experience if we were to ignore everybody. So that's a little bit narrower. There we go. I love trackpads. And so then as I resize, so then we said, okay, template-based, let's go with our version. So what you saw, here's pretty much a live version. Okay, of course, it's on a browser. So there's your template. This is what it serves, or something similar to it. A few of the elements that are consistent that we're going to have on every page, you'll see, the branding, the logo, some of the bolder colors, kind of the positioning. I don't know if you can quite read these, but that initial slide where I said these are the top 7, 8 things that people do, our approach in that mobile design says we're going to give people that immediately. When those are the top 7 things they're going to do, right here on the home page are the top 7 things that they're going to do. So they can log in to their banking site. They can find the locations. They have the menu breakout that gives them the full version. We have some of our product promotional pages, our special offers. I don't know if you can read that on that one, but no, that's rates and then mobile apps. So right there at the very beginning, we've provided our ABA number, our careers, contact us, all within that very first experience. So I hit everybody on that first. And even though I've given everybody everything they want on that first page, our bounce rates are still going lower because it's such a better experience. So that's what we're attributing it to. They're actually more apt to click on our special offers, which the pages have gone up. They're looking at the mobile apps and they're going and searching that information. So the jQuery mobile, so if you're going to take this approach, you already have a site, you need to just design a specific mobile version. If you're going to layer jQuery mobile as your solution, you're going to get some of the slides. So there you go. You saw the slide, you saw the quick think screen, and they go back and forth. That is jQuery mobile. Some of the other things that are jQuery mobile specific, the way that the menus come in. So it automatically, you give it, it's called a data role tag in the content, and you automatically get stylized. You get the arrows automatically. I'm not uploading images. I'm serving a very quick experience as I go through. So let's go back to the mobile version of the home page. Where on my content pages, it's thinking quite a while. There we go. So I'm going to go to the full version. There you can see it scales a little bit, but that's with the browser. Okay, so this is a product promotional page. I send out an email campaign. I want people to swipe their credit card and use that debit card for their transactions, and we're going to enter them into a contest. We're going to do all kinds of fun things. So part of the approach that we took in jQuery Mobile says, okay, we want to limit the size of images. We want images to be responsive. We want to provide that good experience. Now, this may be appropriate. This field or this form may be appropriate if you're visiting on a website. It's going to be really hard if it stays that small relative to the text when you go to a mobile version. So thankfully, through our mobile version, you can see here, it resizes the image automatically through jQuery Mobile and some HTML and CSS. So even if your screen is a little bit larger, even through templates, you can get some of that response. You can see the text kind of restacks as well. And as you scroll, a few differences. I lost some of the images. So the approach that we took, it says, you know what, we want a fast experience. If they're going to get down to content, don't give them images because they're on a phone. Who knows what their data connection speed is. So for example, the little red bullets that were on the full version, we eliminated for the mobile version. You know, as you scroll, you can see I've got a restyled form. So it's optimized for mobile. jQuery does this automatically. I didn't do anything other than I put content in once. And unlike Vegas, when you put content once in Ektron, it goes everywhere. It just doesn't stay in Ektron or Vegas. So that, which is really nice because sometimes or half the time I end up jumping in to help on the content side. And it's nice to only have to develop one across my entire site. The other great thing is I get focus. You have different types of focus, different color changes when you're on the full version, desktop version. But now I've got version, it's highlights. I don't know how well you're seeing this. And the buttons are all larger. They also scale the size. So you can see some of the response. So you can still get a lot of the really good cutting edge stuff that you want using templates. And it's a fast, quick, easy approach. Now, to give you a slightly different perspective on the mobile or on responsive web design. And it's definitely what I would recommend if you have the either resources internally, if you have the time, or if you're starting fresh. Responsive web design is definitely the way to go. So this is a website called CSS Tricks. So css-tricks.com. Everybody should write this down because what I'm going to show you, hopefully you haven't seen, it's going to blow your mind. And this site simply teaches you how to do responsive web design, and they do it really well. So let me focus real quickly on a few of the key elements of this site. On the full version, you have overlays, overlapping, so using some advanced CSS. You have what essentially amounts to 3 columns here. You know, you've got your borders, you got your fancy menu styles, your search, and the browse archives. You've got down here, you know, you've got all your information on your panels. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom so you can see when I start resizing how everything restacks. So you can see here I've got deals for designers. You know, the gentleman's name is Chris Coyer, and he's like, hello, how are you doing? Yep, hi. 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 He's got some neat stuff, and it's all done with CSS, which means it's really fast. He uploads an image once. It doesn't take browser time to think and to make him jump up and down. Do you love Ektron? I love Ektron. See that right there? Stand up. There you go. Sit down. Stand up. Okay. So he does a lot of fun things. So let's go up and let's start getting our experience. Now remember, this technology stack is the alternative one. You don't have to have multiple. Anything. No master pages, no templates, no files of that. It's just all in your CSS and the way you use your HTML. So here we go. So I'm at a full-size laptop. I'm at a full-size, PC or Mac, the desktop experience. Now when I start resizing, let's say I'm actually on a smaller. And so as soon as I hit that smaller screen size, there you go. I don't know if you saw that. Watch that search menu in the upper left-hand corner. Okay? So you automatically, without having to think, without any delay, you immediately have that readjustment of content. There's a few other things to note. Watch the menus. You lose the borders and the overlays on the menus to serve. Same content, same general styling, but you have a much better presentation for a much smaller screen. Okay, so it works really great. So let's go down to the bottom and see in responsive web design if anything else changed. Well, we still have space. It's still kind of a 960 based frame as far as the width go. So I still have room for the 4 boxes, for my extra advertisements, and for a nice wide, mega footer display. All right. So now I'm going from my general laptop. Let's say I pick up my iPad, which hopefully someone, me, will win in some of the drawings that are there. I'm just kidding. You can have it. Okay. So I get over here to my iPad. So it's very subtle, but we start seeing some of those changes. Okay, the menus change a little bit as far as the location. I lose the kind of fancy November 3rd dots as far as for the blog posts. Everything kind of resizes automatically. So just that simple. It's all based on screen size. That's what responsive web design is. At the very bottom, it's based on screen size. Let's go down to the base. Okay, I still have room for all my mega footer displays. We'll go all the way up. And the next version, we're going to go down. I keep going down, and there we go, mobile phone territory. No additional time. So here's my stack. So I lost, the menus stayed pretty much the same. They changed where they are. The spacing stayed. I'm now at a one-column design. I scroll down, and you can see all of this information. It's the same information. It's restacked. The CSS resizes everything automatically. It reorders it. And you can scroll down here to the very bottom. And there's some of the changes right there. So now instead of them being side by side, they're stacked to display better. Okay? And it's really as simple and easy as resizing your screen. Is that not amazing? Okay, so I don't know if anyone's seen it before or not, but this is where we will eventually go with our website, because it's so much better to control the content, and it's so much easier just to upload and to know that you're going to get a good experience because it's based off of screen size and not necessarily what device OS you have. And that's really where mobile is going to go, and that's your mobile first approach, is to say in your designers, is say, look, here's your aspect ratio, here's your screen size. The best way to approach that as well is to do kind of a less than, greater than, because of different screen resolutions. So the iPhone with the Retina display has an actual higher resolution than your desktop monitor, which is 72 dots per inch essentially. It's actually much higher. So when you're resizing, you want to say, if it's greater than this, I want to serve the mobile version. I want to serve the full version or tablet version. If it's less than this, serve the mobile version. So it's as simple as saying, these are my general screen sizes. A few of the other kind of items for everybody to know about and to pay attention are to the recommendation of HTML5. So HTML5 Rocks is a great website. If you haven't seen it, write it down. It's definitely where you can go in and you can see what everybody is doing with the latest web standards. And using HTML5, you can get a lot of the animations and the other things that currently your developers are using jQuery or JavaScript, or they're even doing some heavy back-end development to achieve some of the same things. This is lighter, it's faster, it's upfront, and it's natively supported. The tags are great. And I pulled up the developing for multi-touch web browsers specifically. And as you see, these tags, all these highlighted areas here, are tags. So you got a paragraph tag, your P tag, you've got your header tag, which would be H1. So instead, you're going to have a touch start, a touch move as far as attributes and other items go. So that way, you just put them into the application, and all of a sudden, you can start zooming and scrolling. You can do all the great things that you can do on an iPhone, but it's native to your application, and you don't have to worry about, well, which device am I on, and those types of things. The last website to give you is jQuery Mobile. And so it's jQueryMobile.com. So if this is a solution that you're going to take, and one of the reasons that we really did it, you can see here, as far as, I need to go back and show you guys the menus, which is this right here. So all I did is say, we're going to use jQuery Mobile. I layered it on top, and I automatically get this kind of styling for the menus. I get the styling for the pop-up screens that we did. And then there's a page on here which tells you how they develop. So they look very specifically and measure when someone visits. They say, okay, what device are you on? If you're this device, we're going to give you this version. So that's how jQuery Mobile does it. So there's still a response that goes back and forth between the phone and the servers and those kinds of information, which is where you still get a good experience because we're optimizing for mobile, but it still takes a lot longer than the responsive web design, going back and forth. So it measures all the devices, and they're constantly updating the devices. They give grades A through F as far as which devices are supported, and they also do degradation. So if you're an A device, you're going to get every feature that jQuery Mobile offers, every feature that is great, cool that you've ever seen. If you've got a B, they say, okay, these devices don't support those, but we're going to have a nice degradation so that you still get a nice experience, a nice view, and it goes all the way down until the basic devices are simplified. So let me go quickly back to kind of the pop-up menus.
We just have a question on responsive.
Okay.
Is load time on the phone the same as on a desktop with a responsive web design?
No, it's actually fast. It's faster. So did everyone hear the question? Well, no? Okay, so the question is load time based on the desktop versus load time on the mobile device. So what happens is when the screen size comes in, it's one of the first things that responsive web design will measure. It says, oh, okay, you're this device. I'm not going to serve you the full size of this image. I'm not going to serve you these images. I'm not going to serve you these elements. So it gives you the data just as fast, but you're only uploading a certain amount of time. Now your CSS file is the same size. Some of the base components of your web page are going to be the same size. But what it's serving and how fast it renders on the mobile device is actually a lot faster. Good? All right. And we will do questions at the end too, but thank you for using Twitter to do those. Look how cutting edge we are. We had to do it, right? We're in mobile.
Another question we have is what is your opinion on press releases and white papers on a mobile site? I'd definitely say that press releases you should put on a mobile site. White papers can take a little bit of a download time, depending on, like we have white papers that are 11 pages for PDF. So. Yeah.
Okay, so just to show you kind of our pop-up menus, this is a first for Ektron. Most of the times on our mobile design side, one of the things that we really wanted to do was we wanted to give that experience. So everyone's used to the back button, right? It's the Apple standard. You go forward, you go backward, you go forward, you go backward. But that really limits you to 1 or 2 tiers in that design. You don't have to limit your users. So what we did is we had a back button, but we have what I termed a forward button, which tells you currently where you are as far in the process and gives you the option to click on it and to go to any sibling page or any child page. And so this is jQuery as far as that styling where it comes up and it scrolls and it pops up nicely and it's supported across all devices. But the nice thing is we're kind of pushing that experience where while I'm giving people a limited experience on a phone using the templates, I also wanted to give them the ability to go as deep as they want in a manner that people are kind of used to as far as going forward and back on the buttons. But also, you don't always want to control, at least my perspective is, yeah, I want a guided experience, but I don't want a controlled experience. I don't want to limit, if someone's really motivated to find out about a product, I don't want to limit their ability or increase their frustration on that end by doing it. So what we did down here at the bottom is there's a full site version. So even on a mobile version, so and Ektron's implemented this particular portion across many websites. So I've got a full site, and then what happens on the footer of my main site is I get a mobile site. But I only get the mobile site to show up after I've visited the full site from a mobile phone. So that way I have the ability to toggle back and forth and give the user the exact experience they want. If they want to zoom and they want to scroll side to side or up and down, if they want that different kind of experience, why not give it to them? And you're just going to increase satisfaction overall. And that's actually really easy for Ektron to do, to pop back and forth. It's something I recommend, because as good as we think we are, as good as jQuery mobile is, or responsive web design, there's going to be times where it just doesn't work. It doesn't give the user the experience they want, that guided experience. So give them exactly what they want. Let them pop out to the full site. And that's, if anyone cares, it's based on cookies. So, we're in innovation, so I'm going to talk a little bit more than marketing. So it is based on cookies. So it says, oh, well, you know what, the last thing you clicked was the full version of our site on your mobile phone. So the next time you visit, you're going to get the full version. If you want the mobile, they can pop back to that mobile version again. So that actually concludes for the most part. Let me pop up. This should have been prepped, but it wanted to overtake. Ready? Q&A. And go. Yeah, look at that. Is it? Oh, that's great. Thanks for going to the beginning. How about end? End. There we go. That worked out. So questions for Nicole, questions for myself, comments, discussions? So the question was kind of how does the mobile suite fit into this overall picture? And so, are you asking specifically as far as like contracting goes, or?
No, in terms of functionality, I mean, like if you went with the tech stack,
Mm-hmm.
with jQuery mobile, faster pages and stuff that you need mobile suite.
Yeah. Okay. So the mobile suite does still fit in. We didn't use their mobile suite to do some of the detection. So for example, the mobile suite will tell you what device the user is coming in on, and then allows allows Ektron CMS to serve the appropriate page based on what you chose. We chose jQuery Mobile, and so jQuery Mobile is handling our overall detection and some of our other functions. But you, as an alternative, can use the suite to do those same things. Depending on how the development of jQuery Mobile, we're watching it very closely, continues to go, we may break away from it and go back to to the Ektron supported, because Ektron, the Ektron version works a lot better with Ektron. There are issues when you do jQuery Mobile, so make sure you ask about them. jQuery Mobile likes to use a hashtag. Ektron doesn't know how to use a hashtag, and so to get around it, there's an extra development. But then you have to do extra development on the other side to get some of the cool UI stuff to go back and forth. So there's a trade-off in either one of the technologies you choose, and even within, whether I'm doing responsive or template-based, there's even avenues that you can go in there. So I absolutely think that it fits, and we're still playing about whether ultimately long-term, which way we may go. Yeah, there are some additional features that you're going to get, like GeoIP redirect, which may, for us, isn't as pertinent at the time, but it probably definitely is for, I know, some of the other clients of Ektron here. So yeah, there are some advantages definitely to going with the Ektron side of it. That's a very good question. So we, as smart as we think we are, like, oh, look, we can look at Google Analytics, and here's the 7 things that people want, and that's what we're going to give them up front. I said, you know what? We really don't always know what people want, so we want to give them that search functionality, which is why we prominently displayed it. And I guess I take it for granted, which is why I didn't mention it, so my bad. But they're optimized in the version of they'll return the mobile version, or it's supposed to. So if you're on my site right now and it doesn't work, you can tell me, but that's not Ektron's fault per se. But they are optimized. So the search results come back with the styles that we chose for them. And the jQuery Mobile is just behavior, and it's just the animations. But we did optimize in our design for all search results on the mobile phone to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, and just going along the lines of search in general, the most popular way that you get to your site through a mobile device is via search, so that's why we really recommend to go with that mobile-friendly approach and mobile optimize all your pages, because you never know what somebody will be searching for, and you want to make sure that that page is definitely mobile-enabled. So. Yeah,
and thankfully for us, being mobile-enabled means you put in the right styles for when that template's called. So. Any other questions?
Oh.
Very good question. So, yes. So, for native apps, for us, it's very specific to our financial side. So, the only thing we're really serving on our native apps are tabular data. What's my account balance? What's my last several transactions? So, it's all very tabular data. And so, we chose to go with the mobile app side for that. Also for security reasons, our team was more comfortable serving over the app side and using custom port calls and having that security layers on top of it. It just depends. There are advantages to going with both. I think ultimately though, apps are going to become kind of like BlackBerry in the sense where a lot of corporations are going to support them and they're going to stick around for a long time and they're going to have specified uses. But I think overall, the responsive web design that you're seeing, it makes more sense from a design perspective, a development perspective, a cost perspective, and a user perspective. So I think for the web, for the mobile interactions, and you can do all the same things. You can track data. You can have our site's secure, so you can have it on a secure SSL site. There's a lot of advantages and things you can do that are continuing to go that path as well. You want to take it? You want me to take it? Okay. So the question is from the kind of the marketing design perspective. Most operations go in a certain way. They say, okay, here is our design for our overall site. Here's our comps. I'm going to give my comp to my designer, and we're going to go from there. What it means is more comps. That's what it means. You're going to end up probably, I would say, at minimum 4 comps, a very large resolution screen. Your average resolution screen, which for us is 1280 as far as the width goes. Then I'd say from there you're going to go to kind of the iPad tablet space, and then you're going to go to phone space. So you're going to have to design those four different sides, and then it's nice as a designer to think, well, and that's where the web designer can come in. If you have a graphic designer who's doing the work, give me these elements that they're consistent, and then it's going to be a new conversation. I want the same fonts, I want the same font sizes, or I want different font sizes, but I'm going to need the same colors. We're just going to resize when I get to the different screens, so you have to reuse how you're using white space and to give that same kind of experience. And that's where right now, that's the reason we're not there, because in our project, since it came 6 months into the development, I'm like, okay, you didn't think about mobile, can I just have the project and run with it? They gave it to me, and I went and we designed it separate, and it was easier to do a template than that point than to try to take a comp where they didn't think about any kind of responsiveness at all, and then to roll it in. So, yeah.
When building out the site, how did you go about approaching your line of businesses? Because, I mean, you're a credit union, so you have lines of businesses to deal with. You got mortgages, investments, all these people who want that upfront and personal opportunity to see the member.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the question is,
how do you track through those individuals to siphon out what's going to be mobile, what's going to be upfront on the mobile as opposed to what's already on the site?
okay, so the question, kind of two-part. I have multiple lines of business, so how did we approach those multiple lines of business? It's essentially, how did they compete for space on the homepage? And they did. And as well as, what was our kind of solution for that? How did we determine? So pretty much we ignored them. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't have a job if I ignored them. So we went to each of them, and it was very combative. As everybody wanted to be on the homepage. And so we looked at a couple different values. So the first swipe was, for me, and what I stuck to, and I stuck to my guns, I said, look, we want, one of our key metrics as a credit union is member satisfaction. It's what part of my bonus is based off of. It's part of everybody's bonus in the credit union is based off of. Because we're technically a nonprofit. So it's all about the members. And so I said, we want to give them exactly what they're looking for. So that's where I went to our analytics data, the table that we showed early on. It says, what are people doing on the existing site? They're going to continue wanting to do the same things. We wanted to support that behavior. So no matter how competitive it got, I kind of had that big hammer in the back for that conversation. So approach it with data in mind first, and your clients, customers, consumers, of what you ultimately want to achieve. That was. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what we did for Ektron.com too. We looked at our analytics data, and then we also looked at what are they using to access. Are they using what kind of smartphone? Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, as well as tablets to use too. So again, back it up with analytics data, as Andy just said.
So I know technically we started a little late, so technically now would be the end of it, but we're happy to stay and take as many questions as you guys want. There's nothing really after this other than drinking, which we'll get to do all night. So, but so to continue following up, don't look at me like I'm crazy. I saw you all there last night at the bank. Everyone's out like, because I was with those big and colorful waivers. It was fun. I got like 5 of them in my room. I put them on my window to freak everyone in the parking lot out. Worked out great. But to continue, there is a space that's promotional and not data-driven on our website. And that conversation where it says personal banking, business banking, wealth management, student banking, those came down to, we presented it to kind of the executive management team. We said, what do we value? What do we want to do? What business lines are important? Which ones generate the most money for us? What are people visiting the most on the main website? And so we'll translate some of that data over to how we weigh the different business units, and then which ones are the most important factors for us. And so that's how that conversation came down. We got everybody to sign off on it. And then we also kind of optimized and said, well, in some versions, I don't serve images native, like automatically. If you visit the site and the main site has an image, I don't serve it onto the mobile site on purpose. However, I can. What we did, the way we solved it, I just add a division. I say it has a class of mobile. I throw whatever image I want to show up on, and then they show up, they toggle. It's kind of a Boolean. It's true, false, right? If you have a mobile class, you show up on mobile version. If you don't have a mobile class, you show up on the main version. Really easy. Ektron, the developers did that for us. It didn't take them, but I think a half hour to come up with that solution and to incorporate it in for us. So, yeah.
You're working off the same data. You don't have duplicate data for your mobile stuff.
No, I enter content once. And so when I enter content, I'm conscious of, and that's I think where we're mobile first, in some areas, especially in some of our content design, is I enter content one time, but I'm conscious the entire time of what it looks like on mobile. So I know when I put a UL tag that it's going to have I give it a class of red bullets. The red bullets are going to show up on the main site, but they're not because their image is going to show up on the other site. So I do an alternative. I just instead make I don't want the images to show up because it's really not adding a lot to mobile, but what I'll do is I'll bold the first couple words in each of the sentences on the mobile version instead. When I have images, is it really key for this image to display? On our contact pages, so we're still developing some of them, so it's not here yet, but on our contact pages, what we're going to do is say, here's a mobile-sized version of their photo for our wealth management advisors, for our personal bankers, and that serves up on the mobile so that you don't get this crazy, ridiculous sized image that you can't find anything on. So, yeah. Any other?
Are you doing any real-time stuff, like somebody wants to find the closest ATM,
Yeah. So we do some real-time stuff, but because we're a credit union, in the credit union space, there's not as many vendors, and a lot of the vendors are very specific to credit unions, so it's a little interesting. But we have a platform that connects into Ektron and serves up our maps. So if people are wherever they are for geolocation, and if it's enabled, they can say, oh, I want my locations. I need to find a location, and it'll pop up, San Jose. Here's all the nearest locations of your ATMs, of other branches, shared branching. So you can walk into somebody who's in our network. You can walk into a different credit union that doesn't have our name. You can deposit your check, and it goes immediately into your account. There's no holds, things of that nature. So we provide that information in real time. They can move the maps around and do those kinds of things. So it's definitely possible. But that's, again, additional development. We just have a third-party solution because we had it before, and we're in contract with them, so we rolled it over. But moving forward, when that contract's near to expire, there is a conversation going on about how we might incorporate that into Ektron. It just makes more sense if you have the ability in Ektron and you're in Ektron to use it and use it organization-wide, so you have kind of more of a shared brain space, I think, in there. Next.
Regarding responsive design, I found the implementation because we have played around with it also, but especially last table.
Yeah. So there are limitations to it, and that limitation I think can be overcome in the foresight. The limitation really comes to the browser support. So if I have an old version of a phone, it doesn't matter what standards I'm using. Even if I'm using old standards, some phones just don't support any standard well. They got off, they're like, oh, you know what, mobile, we're first in the mobile space, so we're going to have our own custom solution for it. Ignore all the web standards that are going on, so it's never going to work well. My advice there and what we did is I looked at how much of our customer segment, that it actually affected. And it was so tiny, I was like, you know what? They can take the degradation on jQuery mobile for us. But for responsive web design, you can just design down to it and just present it in a different way and know that they're going to have a limited experience, but it's their fault. Tiny % of the population. They need to buy a new phone, and hopefully, when their contract expires, they will. It's not a perfect answer, right? I mean, it's hard enough as a designer, developer, great. A designer, developer designing for 15 different browsers, let alone now adding mobile on top of that space. So the question's, how do you justify the additional resources into it? There's going to be a couple different, into responsive web design, and the additional comps. One is it's going to come down to analytics at some point. So you're going to need to look at opportunity cost and how much, if your mobile drives traffic. For us, customer satisfaction is really important. So that's calculated into it. So while it's not hard data, it was important data for us. And so we looked at and said how many users are using it, how many conversions. So we do the same kind of data we do on our large site. What's our conversions? Do I have people actually using the forms? And where before I don't have even one example ever of where someone's registered for an event, where someone signed up for a product or, or anything on their mobile device before this rollout. I do have data now where people are using it. So I know some of that's post hoc, and it doesn't really work when you're going for it. But that's where you can tap into other people's experiences or other people's reports on that are in your industry that have done it and gone first, and try to tap into them as far as that justification. So what was the impact of adding it in last minute? It was actually none, because I took it and I ran with it. So we did it while the other development was going on. We started the design and the development of the mobile version, where the rest of our track took 7 to 9 months as far as from our implementation guide through the actual launch of our website. The mobile version of that was 1 month. I worked on it fairly consistently, but I was able to do it concurrently because it's non-responsive. So it was according to the template. Since it was template-based, I could do it concurrently. Because you can always add templates to the design. So if you take the template approach, you can do it concurrently, and the impact was very minimal for us. I think it cost, as far as the actual design cost, it probably cost us an extra $1,000. Development cost, probably an extra $3,000 to $5,000 just to get the mobile version. But it's because we piggybacked off the main design. I think they did do some things really well on the main design. So when am I going to start? Based on what the budget's looking like next year, not for a little while. But probably about mid-2012, I'm going to start making a case for it and look to see if I can get end of the year support and the reprocess. But it's going to be probably a phase 3 for us. Phase 2 is to get all of the kinks worked out for our mobile side. As well as we just redesigned. Actually, the homepage you saw is appropriately wide. It's a little too wide, and it's very tall. So we just redesigned all the same elements to fit into the same space. So we're going to do a slight adjustment on some of our mobile to match as well. So that's kind of our phase 2 rollout. Our phase 3 is going to be changing that to the responsive design. So I'd expect that process to go through all of 2012.
Yeah, and I would encourage you all to, if you haven't already, definitely check out Tech Credit Union's site, because in terms of the mobile-first approach, it's very similar, their desktop browser site to their mobile site. So it's a great Ektron case study, basically, in terms of design principles.
All right, well, I think we'll break at this point, but thank you all for staying around and your interest.